Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on Fox 7 Austin's special election coverage on Fox Local. Governor Abbott is seeking his fourth term serving as governor of Texas. Fox 7 Austin's Marco Bittner is live tonight in downtown Austin, where the governor is going to be holding a watch party for the campaign. Marco.
Well, Mike, since we last talked, we've migrated our way inside now. We're inside Cedar Door. This is the venue here in downtown Austin where Governor Abbott is supposed to be giving remarks here in just about an hour and a half. And since we got inside probably 30 minutes ago, this place is slowly but surely starting to fill up. You can see just a little bit behind me, we got a little bit of a small crowd. And when you start talking about the energy and the sort of vibe in the building right now, very much laid back, very much of a calm attitude in here. And I think that's just a reflection of just how easily that Governor Abbott is expected to cruise through this primary here tonight. We're mentioning just a little bit earlier some of these latest polls showing that he might earn up to 91% of Republican votes in tonight's primary. Now, he's still facing off in a very crowded field. We have 10 other GOP candidates which are vying for that spot, but Governor Abbott does have quite a bit of things going for him. Over $100 million in his war chest. He is also touting a endorsement from President Trump as well. And he's also been very, very busy in these last few weeks as well. He's been making his way across the state, hitting some different spots. And the big thing that we've been seeing from the governor is he wants people to get out to vote. He wants people to be hitting these polls. And although his race might be pretty secure, at least from what we're seeing, he's been really pushing for a lot of these other Republican candidates that he has endorsed across the state. And there's also potential history on the line as well. If Governor Abbott does earn this primary, if he does win in this primary and goes on to this general election in November, it's looking like he will face off against Democratic challenger Gina Hinojosa, who is also expected to have a pretty safe win tonight as well. But if Governor Abbott is able to make his way past that election, well, he could be the longest serving governor in Texas history. He would have an unprecedented fourth full term as governor. So a little bit on the line tonight and as we head into the future as well. But like Ray mentioned, things starting to pick up slowly but surely in here. We were talking to Abbott's press team as well, and they were saying that he's going to wait until those polls close in just about half an hour now at 7. He's watching them very closely, they told us. And then once that's all wrapped up, he's going to make his way over here to downtown Austin. They said it's going to be around 8 o'clock, that stage right behind me over there, where he's going to be giving those remarks. So you can be sure we'll be here watching along very closely and be bringing you another look when he makes his way over here. Mike, back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Marco. Democratic State Representative Gina Hinojosa is running to challenge Greg Abbott for the governor's chair. Fox 7 Austin's Angela Shen is details. Angela.
Yeah, her campaign is called the No Te Dejes, or the Fight Back Tour, and her watch party here in San Antonio is expected to start at 8:30. She was in Austin this morning visiting various polling locations, and she also had an election eve rally last night in Austin. Now this morning she reiterated that she's fighting for working class families and that people are tired of current leadership. Some of her priorities that she has are education. She fought to keep her son's school open when it was about to be privatized. She says every child deserves a strong neighborhood public school. She's against Governor Greg Abbott's voucher plan, which she says drains billions of taxpayer dollars from schools. She wants to invest in teacher pay and school safety. She also wants to make Texas more affordable and for people to have more accessible health care. She wants to take on what she calls corporate greed and wants to provide opportunities for small businesses. And Hinojosa is originally from the Valley and was on the AISD school board before winning the election for Texas House in 2016. And on the list of guests that will be here tonight include a long list of elected officials, including Congressman Joaquin Castro and State Senator Roland Gutierrez. Back to you.
We have rainfall opportunities starting tomorrow. It's going to be a lot different than what we've seen lately. I've got your full forecast. Turn it back.
Fox 7 Austin weather with meteorologist Leslie London.
It has been warm lately. Today we got the sunshine, but things are about to change as we head into tomorrow. We finally have rainfall opportunities returning to the area, and not just for tomorrow, lasting through the week and into the weekend, and even beyond that. Now, specifically for tomorrow, though, late tonight, we're going to start to see those chances going up, and you have opportunities off and on throughout the day. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's first talk about what else we're seeing right now and overnight. So one thing, if you stepped outside, you know, it's breezy out there. We've got wind gusts around 20, 25 miles per hour. That's sticking with us tomorrow, so you're still going to feel that breeze. Also, it's been very, very warm. We hit 89 degrees for our high today, which tied the record, which was set back in 1901. Tomorrow's still going to be warm, but not as warm. We're still talking 80s, but we're talking lower 80s versus the upper 80s. And right now, if you step outside, we do still have some 80s in there, but we're starting to drop out. It's 78 in LaGrange, 80 in Giddings, 81 here in Austin, 78 in Lampasas, 78 in Mason, 81 in San Saba. Tonight, we're dropping down to the upper 60s for the start of our day, so our morning low, but most of the night will be in the 70s, and then tomorrow we will go back into the 80s. The bigger change, of course, is the rainfall. Now, we're still seeing clear skies, but overnight we're going to see the cloud coverage build up, and then we have a chance for mostly showers, but possibly a thunderstorm. And with that, some of those thunderstorms could bring us some severe weather. Most of us are under that marginal risk, the level 1 out of 5. But still important. It just means we could see an isolated thunderstorm that brings that chance for severe weather. For us, the main concern, large hail. Up north, we could see some strong wind gusts, but fortunately, it looks like we're not expected to see any tornadoes. So let's talk about it. Overnight, the clouds start to build up, and then we'll start to see that rainfall in the morning. We're talking mostly showers, but possibly could see some thunderstorms in here off and on throughout the day. And then it starts to slow down late at night, but it'll pick back up as you head into Thursday. And it's kind of the same idea where we're mostly seeing showers, but maybe a few thunderstorms. Thursday has a chance for severe weather, but it's only clipping way out west for us, so kind of the hill country where they're going to have to be concerned. But the rain doesn't stop there, so we've got chances tomorrow lasting all the way through the week into the weekend and beyond. Now, for some of that, we have to wait till we get closer to know if it's going to be severe weather, but they're already talking potentially seeing some flooding for Saturday, so heavy rainfall possible just in some isolated regions. This gives you a good idea. So this is for tomorrow. This goes all the way to tomorrow night. Depending on if you get a strong storm, you might get more rain, but it's still less than half an inch. Then as I go to Friday, it starts to go up just barely. But once I go to the weekend, that's when we see these numbers start to skyrocket and get a lot higher. We're talking multiple inches in some spots. Now, we absolutely need the rain, but we know how it goes. When it comes really quickly like that, it is a concern. So flooding is something that we're going to be talking about as we get towards the weekend. For now, it's the severe weather. So tonight, we may start to see some of that rain. It's going to last off and on throughout the day tomorrow, and then those rainfall chances just keep going. And they actually don't really impact the temperatures. We're going to stay warm through most of the next 7 days.
The U.S. and Israel maintaining relentless attacks on Iran as the State Department begins mobilizing resources to evacuate Americans from that region. Fox's Caroline Shively with more.
As the fighting ramps up, so does the urgency to get Americans out of the Middle East. Smoke rising in Tehran as the U.S. and Israel keep pounding Iran with airstrikes. The IDF on Tuesday confirmed a strike on Iran's leadership complex, killing multiple officials who were in the process of selecting the next supreme leader. Meanwhile, the U.S. is taking out Iran's missile sites and military facilities.
You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime.
President Trump with a new rationale for the initial strikes, now saying the U.S. led the charge.
They were going to attack if we didn't do it. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
That's a different take than Secretary of State Marco Rubio offered on Monday, suggesting the U.S. followed Israel's lead. The State Department has begun to evacuate Americans from the Middle East by planes and even buses.
We do hear fighter jets going overhead from time to time. You just really kind of take it hour by hour because things keep changing.
Amid the White House's mixed messaging, some Democrats are questioning the administration's endgame.
Is there a plan when the president says we'll bomb till we stop and then Iranians take over your government? That's a jump ball, is not a plan.
Lawmakers are already talking about the possibility of a supplemental spending bill to pay for the operations. A former Pentagon budget official estimates just getting U.S. troops and equipment to the region will cost $600 million. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
President Trump hosting German Chancellor Friedrich Merz at the White House. It's the German leader's third time visiting Washington since he took office 10 months ago. The two discussing strikes in Iran, along with the war in Ukraine and a trade agreement. Some European leaders are expressing concerns over whether those strikes were legal under international law. While Merz did not critique the attack, he also has not endorsed it, but did express he wants to see a positive government change in Iran.
We are on the same page in terms of getting this terrible regime in Tehran away, and we will talk about the day after, what will happen then if they are out. We have to talk about our trade agreement, which I would like to be in place as soon as possible. And we have to talk about Ukraine. There are too many bad guys in this world, actually, and this is an issue we have to talk about because we all want to see this war coming to an end as soon as possible.
At a press conference today, the president was asked who he had in mind for Iran's next leader. Trump said most of the people his team had originally had in mind are dead following additional strikes. He also said he thought someone from within the Iranian regime might be the best choice to take power once the military campaign ends. The turmoil in the Middle East is already impacting the economy, with AAA reporting the average price for a gallon of gas jumped 11 cents overnight. Fox's Tom Ziska spoke to a supply chain expert about what to expect.
We should be concerned when you look at the amount of energy that is exported from the Middle East to Asia, and that fuels manufacturing in Asia. And that supply, well, if it's cut off for a week or a few days, it is non-consequential. But you extend that to a month or several months, you really have, a global crisis in the making. It's unprecedented, the scale of this conflict. I mean, it is not just in Iran, it's the entire Gulf states are involved, and it's also impacted air freight. So it's not just shipping, it's air also. Ultimately, it does come down to the consumer, and at some point the consumer will say, I can't afford this, and they stop buying. And then, that leads to a domino effect the other way where, manufacturing slows down, and then you see people laid off.
When we hear President Trump suggest and pundits suggest a 4 to 6 week time frame, that really puts us on the cusp, if I'm hearing your description, of really a potential tipping point of trouble.
I would say anything beyond a couple of weeks really is going to take some time to normalize the state of affairs.
A federal court says tariff returns can't be delayed despite efforts by the Trump administration to slow the process down. The Trump administration has to refund billions of dollars worth of tariffs after the Supreme Court ruled that all the tariffs are illegal. President Trump's Justice Department urged the federal court to hold off the next refund phase for 90 days, but the judges refused. The government collected more than $130 billion from tariffs by mid-December and may ultimately have to pay refunds of up to $175 billion. However, the Supreme Court has offered no guidance on the logistics of refunds. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem faced tough questions at a Senate hearing. For weeks, Congress has remained deadlocked over how to proceed with fully funding DHS. Democrats outlined a series of steps the agency would need to take before it would agree to fund the agency. Republicans and Noem have warned the shutdown will affect many important departments and agencies housed under DHS. Fox's Jared Halpern with more from Washington.
The lack of funding for the Department of Homeland Security took center stage at a Senate hearing featuring Secretary Kristi Noem.
DHS doesn't have appropriated funds. This is insane.
Democrats are holding up funding after recent events in Minneapolis. 2 American citizens were shot by agents working under the DHS umbrella. Comments after the incidents characterized the victims' involvement as domestic terrorism. Criticism came from both sides of the aisle.
We asked her to say she's just wrong or she's sorry. She couldn't do it.
Back to Minneapolis. Why can't we just say we made a mistake?
Republican Senator Thom Tillis barely let Noem respond.
That's a failure of leadership, and that is why I've called for your resignation.
Noem talked about the evolution of an ICE agent's job.
They are facing a serious and escalating threat as a result of deliberate mischaracterizations of their heroic work. I recognize that members of this committee may hold differing views about immigration policy, but it's important that we distinguish between disagreements over policy and the department's operational responsibility to enforce existing law.
Noem was also pressed on Iran and any potential threats to the U.S. homeland.
When we have conflicts overseas, we see that the ramifications are higher threats here at home as well. And more resources are needed to be out there to do due diligence.
Where do lawmakers go from here? Some Democrats have an idea.
If they were able to separate that funding from ICE and Border Patrol operations, they certainly have our votes. They have the ability to do that. Show us you are serious about protecting the homeland, and let's have a separate debate.
Noem will answer questions from a House committee on Wednesday. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Back here, investigators still working to determine the motive in Sunday's West 6th Street mass shooting. Late last night, Austin police confirmed a third victim, 30-year-old George Pedersen, died. He succumbed to his injuries in the hospital. According to APD, at around 2 a.m. Sunday morning, a man driving a black SUV circled the block before firing a gun out of his window at people staying in front of Buford's bar and on the patio. Police say the suspect, who they have identified as 53-year-old Ndiaga Agnay, then drove westbound on 6th Street towards Wood Street, parked, and continued shooting at people walking toward West 6th until he was shot and killed by police. The FBI is investigating the shooting as a potential nexus to terrorism. He was wearing a sweatshirt with the words "Property of Allah" and had a shirt underneath with the Iranian flag on it. And this morning, Fox 7 Austin obtained new viewer video from a Ring camera outside of an apartment in Del Valley. You can see the suspect exiting the apartment with what looks like a blanket in his hand. That is the same apartment where the FBI executed a search warrant looking for information tied to the shooter late Sunday night. Today in North Texas, federal agents testified about what they found when searching the homes of suspects accused of attacking an ICE detention center last summer. Fox's Dion Anglin has that.
Demonstrators with signs and props are staged across from the federal courthouse in Fort Worth, a visual display of support for those on trial, but otherwise the group is quiet, low-key. Inside the courtroom, the spectator gallery is full and situated just behind a crowded field of attorneys representing the 9 defendants. Each is on trial for participating in an alleged coordinated attack on the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, July 4th, 2025. The defendants dispute the claim, saying they held a noise protest to support the detainees. During the law enforcement response that night, an Alvarado police officer was shot and seriously injured. On Tuesday, FBI agents testified about the search of several residences and vehicles connected to some of the defendants in the days after the incident, including the alleged leader and mastermind, Benjamin Song. The federal agents discussed evidence confiscated from those homes and apartments in Dallas, Garland, and Denton, including multiple pistols, long guns, ammunition, various types of bulletproof vests, handheld radios, a bullhorn, and what they called propaganda. Under cross-examination of one FBI special agent, a defense attorney asked, "So your understanding was you were looking for reading materials, printed materials?" She answered, "Yes." "So there was no particular express distinction for what you were told to look for, just a large spectrum of issues?" She answered, "There was information outlined in the search warrant." The attorney pressed further. Do you recall them saying look for things that may highlight anarchists or anarchy? She answered, yes. What about anti-immigration or anti-ICE? Yes. And what about Antifa? She answered, I believe so. He asked, so you weren't just told to indiscriminately look for things that stand out? She answered, anti-government may have been one of the words they used.
Coming up, we'll take a final look at the polls with just minutes before they close tonight. You're watching Fox 7 Austin News at 6. Time is running out for voters in the Texas primaries. The polls are going to close in just a few minutes now. Both Democrats and Republicans, many items on the ballot. Fox 7 Austin's Cliff Thornton has been at the polls for much of the day today. And Cliff, how was it going?
Yeah, Mike, the election day voting process across the immediate area, including here at the Travis County Clerk's office, has gone about as efficiently as voters could have hoped for, with the exception of a few minor hiccups. We visited different polling locations across the area, from Austin City Hall to Gus Garcia Rec Center just off Runberg to Fire Station 41 in far East Austin and Williamson County Jester Annex in Round Rock. As expected, these locations showed 50-minute plus wait times online early morning, but lines shortened up nicely by midday. Only hiccup we came across, some voters being redirected from the Wilco location to other voting sites.
They changed it on me. This is where I've always voted before. I've been here for 5 years, and I've always come here. But so a little inconvenience, but not too bad a deal.
They just helped me find another location that I can go to. Other than that, it's a close location, so I'm not upset about it. I've seen all the signs. They're pretty easy to find a location.
The primaries always seem to have a more subdued energy than the general elections, but to local voters, this particular primary season feels different, coming closer to the intensity of what will be felt in the November midterms.
I think, you've seen all that stuff about the turnout for this race being a lot higher.
Everything is happening geopolitically with what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Texas here. There were some very contentious ones, highly contested. Mm-hmm. So this one has a little bit more impact than a lot of preliminaries.
People are really interested because things have changed so much, and a lot of people would like to see us go back to some of the things that we need to be doing. Every person that is a United States citizen needs to vote, because if you don't, you can't crack.
Yeah, that time is winding down to vote, just under about 10 minutes now. Now, as far as primaries go, the early voting numbers show this particular primary to have the largest voter turnout in Travis County in nearly 20 years. We're live at the Travis County Clerk's office in Austin. Cliff Thornton, Fox 7 Austin News.
With just 100 days to go ahead of the first match in the World Cup, organizers and international soccer leaders met in Atlanta for what they're describing as a critical meeting for preparations. Fox's Tyler Fingert with more.
100 days out, the countdown to World Cup soccer just got very real here in Atlanta. For FIFA officials, the focus is on execution as a conflict brews in the Middle East.
This is really the final stretch of our preparations for the FIFA World Cup.
From anticipation to action as the biggest sporting event on the planet closes in.
Welcome to Atlanta.
This week, inside the Westin Peachtree Plaza Hotel in downtown Atlanta, FIFA officials and top international soccer leaders are gathered for the team workshop, a critical meeting before the first whistle blows.
And over the next couple of days, we are finalizing their plans. It's mainly about logistics, it's about team travel.
This team workshop comes amid heightened global tensions from Mexico to the Middle East. With massive travel expected, officials say they're preparing for everything.
Closely monitoring the situation, we take it very seriously, and with 100 days to go, there is still some time. Obviously, we need to let it play its course.
Technology will also define this tournament. FIFA leaders previewed innovations like enhanced officiating systems, advanced match analysis tools known as Football AI Pro, and even referee body cameras, offering fans new angles and insights.
I'm quite certain that there will be highlight clips either for media partners or on social media.
Atlanta's time to shine begins in 104 days with the first of 8 matches. With just over 3 months to go, the message is clear. Top FIFA officials love our city.
Southern hospitality is not just a myth, but I got to experience it firsthand. And, you know, everybody is excited in Atlanta for the World Cup, and Atlanta shows up like not many other cities do.
Representatives from 40 of the qualified nations are here in Atlanta for the team workshop. This all runs through Wednesday. In downtown Atlanta, Tyler Fingert, Fox 5 News.
The South Terminal at Austin Bergstrom is going to close for good. The last day of flights for Allegiant and Frontier are going to be March 31st. The South Terminal is closing to expand the number of taxiways at the airport. Frontier and Allegiant are going to join the main Barbara Jordan Terminal starting April 1st. The South Terminal opened in 2017 as part of the airport's expansion. And that is going to do it for the Fox 7 Austin News at 6. Austin Live with Alec Nolan continues our special election coverage next on Fox Local. And we hope to see you back here on the air at 9 and 10 for more local news. Have a good evening.
Live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom, a special 2-hour edition on this primary election night. Rudy, our chief political reporter, joining us. Rudy Koski, I know this is your bread and butter, if you will. You've been around this rodeo many times.
Had nothing better to do today.
Had nothing better to do, so we're bringing him in because he is the expert. And so we had some things we wanted to talk about in the last hour or so, some explosive stuff coming out of the Democratic primary for Senate. What do we know?
Rundowns? Who needs a rundown,
yeah.
right? You know, it wouldn't be election day without some election day drama, right? So we've got a couple of things that are brewing late right now. One, a big one in Dallas County. The hours for the polls have been extended from 7 to 9. Why?
They were supposed to close at 7.
Supposed to close at 7.
Right.
And the big question is why? Well, what has happened is that election day. In multiple counties, including Dallas County, Williamson County being for one, it was the primaries between the Republicans and the Democrats separated. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're already holding their own primaries, but the polling locations were separated. So in some of these areas, like Dallas County, people who thought that their polling precinct was their nearby school,
right,
showed up at the nearby school and found out, oh, no, sorry, your actual polling precinct is down the street at the post office. And a lot of confusion about where do I go, how do I vote, where I can go, and especially in Dallas County. A little bit of that here in Williamson County. Reason for that is that the Republicans wanted to keep things separated. It's been part of their mantra for the past 2-3 years. Actually, even probably dates back to the presidential race that Trump lost to Biden in regards to stolen elections and things like that. So they wanted to keep things separated. The Democrats like saying, no, let's have it all together and keep everything the same. Republicans were like saying no. They've known this for a while. Been fighting over it.
That's what I was going to say. Wouldn't they have?
Should have known.
Right.
Should have, could have, would have. But unfortunately, a lot of folks didn't get the message if a message was sent out by the party. And people were showing up at the different locations. And at such a large amount, there was one service that was analyzing turnout, and they said, based on the turnout in Dallas County, that they were predicting a big win for James Tellerico. Why? Well, Jasmine Crockett is from Dallas County. This is her home base.
Right.
So this is a huge victory for her on the night in regards to getting her home base of voters
a little extra time.
Extended an extra 2 hours to show up at the polls and vote. I've reached out to the Tellerico campaign, haven't heard back from them in regards to the reaction to it, but the Tellerico campaign did issue a statement earlier in support of extending voting hours in Dallas County and Williamson County, which mirrored a statement that came out from the Texas Democrats, who earlier this evening had sent out a press release calling for the voting hours to be extended in Dallas County and, oh, by the way, Williamson County, which is theoretically James Tellerico's home base.
Right.
But, it's not apples to apples
right.
here.
They're trying to make it fair, but as you pointed out, from a population perspective.
It's apples to grapes. The registered voters in Dallas County, over 1.2 million. Now, granted, that's Democrat and Republican, but still 1.2. Registered voters in Williamson County, about 500,000. So we're talking a really big disparity in regards to registered voters, and being able to extend those hours to let more people vote adds more number totals in a very hotly contested campaign.
If you're Tellerico tonight, and you and I kind of talked about this a little bit, but what can you say? What do you do?
He can't do anything. He's trapped, and the campaign's trapped. The party has already come out before him with a statement saying extend the hours for Dallas County and Williamson County. So he's pretty much trapped. Now the thing is that what happens if, let's just say, by extending the hours, all of a sudden we see a huge surge in votes for Jasmine Crockett and she wins the nomination. What recourse does he have? Well, he can file a lawsuit. He can file a complaint.
So I was going to ask.
In the worst case scenario, he could even try to petition for a re-election. It could get into a very ugly situation for the Democrats in that situation. And it's somewhat interesting. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans for it.
I was going to say we had a live feed there of Colin Allred, who's in a race of his own, and of course Jasmine Crockett talking about this up in Dallas. Our reporter Katie Pratt is out there. We'll talk to her later. But if you're the Republicans now, are you sort of looking at this like let them deal with their own?
Oh yeah, the Republicans are just sitting back right now and watching this NASCAR race, play out. It's almost like the last final laps going on.
Try not to crash.
If anybody watched the Daytona 500 a couple of Sundays ago, that last two laps were really something, and then they crashed going over. It was almost like Ricky Bobby crossing the finish line in that situation. Could we have a Ricky Bobby situation here? Could be tonight.
Well, and it's interesting too, and you were saying yesterday, and we were talking about, hey, let's take this day at a time. We can try and prep and plan all we want, but something is going to happen on the night. Did you get any wind of this, that this could be a possibility?
No, honestly, I did not.
So you're surprised by this?
But I will say...
Not surprised by the drama, but...
This morning, I had an operative reach out to me and ask me, hey, are you doing a story on this the precinct situation, and I responded no, but I'll be watching it. So I kind of got a little bit of a heads up, I guess, on this. Did I expect it to blow up to this level and this size? No, because it wasn't until just late in the game that we started seeing the ramifications of people showing up at the wrong places and maybe not even going to the right place. They may just be so frustrated because remember, the data has been showing that this primary has attracted a lot of people who have never voted in a primary before, waited until November, and a lot of independents who didn't usually vote in primaries. And so, who lost the votes tonight?
Right.
Who didn't go back and vote? Because of this brouhaha. And
essentially showing up and then getting turned away and saying, forget it.
Right. And I sure would like, it would be really interesting to see the data in regards to the number of people who turned out in Dallas County up to, like, let's say 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock today.
Sure, right.
And then see the number, and did that number surge? And certainly how many more did it surge after 7 o'clock when the polls were going to be closing? And we're still waiting to hear. I have not reached out to the folks in Williamson County. The folks at Williamson County told me they have not received a petition, a court filing requesting to extend hours past 7 o'clock. And I have not gotten any kind of notification that has happened in Williamson County. So we're here at 7 o'clock. Polls are closing here in the Central Time Zone. Of course, El Paso, the folks in El Paso, hello guys.
I was going to say they are Mountain Time, so they're an hour.
So they literally do have an extra hour.
They do have an extra hour, right?
That's built in.
I just want to confirm. I want to confirm with our producer that the numbers we're having here. Am I okay to show these? We are okay to show these. So Rudy, we're going to look at these right now. This is some early numbers that we have. Here are the number of votes there. We've got the percentages, and Crockett leading as of right now. Only 9% of the votes counted, as we've mentioned, as Rudy has mentioned. Those polls being extended in Dallas and Williamson County. How do you react to that early?
Well, that goes back to one of the most recent polls that we had in regards to the flip-flopping and that Jasmine Crockett having the nearly double-digit lead on Tallarico, and then we had the new poll that came out that said the Emerson poll that came out.
Right.
Said, no,
other way around.
It was the UT Tyler poll.
Yes.
That
yes.
had Crockett with the big lead. So this is more in reflection along that alignment with the UT Tyler poll, with almost a 10-point gap. But again, very, very early,
right?
And the early voting drop is going to be a little slower than usual, than we're used to because of new regulations and things like that. So it used to be that right at 7 o'clock you get that boom early.
And you
voting
told
drop.
me, you said we're not going to have it right at 7.
We're not going to have that. It's going to be a little slower coming out because of the new state laws and new adjustments to the voting regulations.
We haven't even gotten to the Republican side of this because of what Rudy was just talking about and the polls being extended in Dallas and Williamson County. I'll take a quick look here. We only got a couple minutes left until we'll go to break, but I just want to look at the Republican side of things. Rudy, and your reaction to this early on from Cornyn, Paxton, and Hunt?
Well, that is a big surprise. Now, again, the Emerson poll having Cornyn, the UT Tyler poll, I'm getting those two mixed up. UT Tyler poll having Cornyn up high, and then the Emerson poll flipping that with Paxton. The Wesley Hunt folks have been pretty much stuck in that 15, 13, 17% percentile right now. So that, good news for the John Cornyn team, but it's still really early.
Still very early. As I mentioned, we have very early estimates here. The poll's just closing, not all of them because of this extension, but just about 10 minutes to go. So we'll continue to update you guys as best as we can. We'll continue to gather more numbers. Rudy will come back on the show when hopefully we have more updates, and then we'll also be hearing from our reporters as they're trying to call me here. From other areas. We've got reporters, we've got eyeballs everywhere trying to bring you guys the best coverage as possible. And then, of course, we'll have our 9 o'clock show. That will go until 11. So we need some coffee or longer, caffeine, maybe some food. So we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we will hear from Meredith Aldis, who will have the GOP side of things here on the Senate. You're watching Austin Live Special Edition right here on the Fox Local app. Welcome back into Austin Live. Special edition here, 2 hours coming at you from 7 to 9 right here on the Fox Local app on this special primary election night. Things were sort of quiet throughout the day, and we brought in our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, to break down the situation going on with the Senate part of this, with Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. And there's some confusion with the precincts and where to vote. So they have now extended in both Dallas County and Williamson County. Here in Williamson County, because that's sort of Tallarico's backyard, Crockett's backyard obviously being up there in Dallas, they've extended those until 9 p.m. now. So we're not getting the best numbers at the moment. There will be an extension, and there has been some drama around this. Crockett and Congressman Colin Allred also coming out and talking about it. So we'll continue to update you guys on that. I'm sure there will be much fallout from that. These are the latest results. 11% of the votes counted here on the Republican side of things. And we're going to bring in our very own Meredith Aldis, who has been covering this all day. And it's been a long day. And so we're going to bring in Meredith now. If we could bring her in. There she is. Meredith Aldis joining us. So where are you, Meredith? You're all over today. Where are you right now?
Hey, Alec. Yeah, I'm in downtown Austin.
Okay, so give us the latest on, well, first, let's start with what have you covered today? What have you learned today? Kind of give us the sights and the sounds and what you've taken in.
Yeah, we're going to go to Cornyn's watch party in a little bit. It's on 3rd Street here in downtown Austin. So we will get more of an idea of kind of what's going on with his party there. But for right now, we've been in downtown Austin just talking about this race leading up to this. And about a month ago, I did talk to Cornyn himself. And he talked about how critical this race really is and how critical it is for him, he says, of course, for him to be the Republican nominee. He basically says if Ken Paxton is the nominee, that it's likely a seat that has been red for a very long time could flip because he doesn't believe that Ken Paxton has the votes to be able to win against either Jasmine Crockett or James Tallarico.
Being a Texan, Meredith, obviously, Cornyn has been a senator for nearly a quarter century now, basically your entire life here. And you guys, I mean, we were talking about it before you went out to downtown and just saying, hey, do you ever remember him having a challenge like this before? And it would appear this is the first time that he's really been challenged like this.
Yeah, I've never seen him. This will be him going for his 5th term. I've never seen him have challengers like this on the Republican side with Ken Paxton and then Wesley Hunt. And Wesley Hunt does play a critical role in this primary election because if Ken Paxton or Cornyn don't end up getting the majority vote tonight, they will go to a runoff. So Wesley Hunt could get a significant amount of votes and, make that
right
happen.
Now I know you can't see the numbers, so I'll try to read them off and maybe you can remember what I'm saying numbers-wise here. But Cornyn currently leading 46% to Paxton's 37%, Wesley Hunt trailing at 13%. So Cornyn with an early lead right now. When you talked to him about a month ago, what was the vibe you got from him in terms of, did he seem confident? Did he seem as though he would have to worry about tonight? I mean, what could you gather in the short time there?
Wait, did you say Cornyn 36?
Cornyn
or
46, Paxton 37.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay.
he's ahead about 9 right now. Yeah.
Okay. That is interesting because in many polls we've seen Paxton being the one who has been leading the charge with Cornyn being second, and then obviously Wesley Hunt in third. So that is interesting. Cornyn told me though that he was expecting a runoff, and he told me straight up, I hope I'm wrong about that, but he did expect to go into a runoff after tonight. So with that sort of percentage, I mean, it isn't a majority. So if it turns out to be just like that, at the end of the night, it will be a runoff. But that is a significant percentage.
Yeah, early on, we were talking about it with Rudy. I mean, this is just so early on. We know the polls in many areas closing at 7 p.m. tonight. Obviously, El Paso getting an extra hour, being in that different time zone, and then Dallas County and Williamson County extending those deadlines because of the different precincts being changed. When you go to this watch party, what are you expecting to see? What have you been told before this?
Yeah, we're told that once the primary elections results kind of come in and it's more concrete, that Cornyn will have something to say. We expect that around 8:30 or so. So hoping that he, will make some sort of announcement, whether it's, we're getting ready for a runoff or depends on
what happens.
What happens. But we do expect him to talk to us.
Well, just yell at us if you're getting updates, and then we'll try and toss it out to you guys. But Meredith Aldis, we appreciate it. Thank you for all the updates on all of this. I know there's a lot to cover. We got early results here, but stay safe out there, and we'll stay in contact. Thank you, Meredith.
Thanks, Al.
All right, that was Meredith Aldis there. Let me hang up the phone with her. Talking about this, obviously, before we came on, I thought, we had a pretty smooth transition into this. It wasn't too stressful of a night, and then all of a sudden, right before we come on, we're seeing that there's going to be extension here in the polls because of what's going on in the precincts. Our other reporter, Katie Pratt, is actually out in Dallas right now, and I'll show you what she tweeted out about half an hour ago. This is echoing, obviously, what Rudy told us a couple minutes ago, but here is that, and Rudy's trying to tell me something here, yes.
Williamson County did not extend. They are closed.
They're closed.
It's dropped.
Okay, so Rudy Koski, do you want to join us, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rudy's going to join us. He's got some breaking news here. If we get you mic'd up, where's the mic there? And so he just told me. I know you guys can't hear, but Rudy just told me right now that Dallas County voted to extend this, or not voted, but decided to extend this.
A judge extended
A judge extended it until 9 p.m. after some voters were turned away at the polls. But Rudy is telling me now that Williamson County, the backyard of James Tallarico,
right,
deciding not to extend.
Apparently, a complaint was not filed with the judge.
Wow.
And so the polls closed as they were supposed to, as scheduled at 7 o'clock. Some interesting. Ask me, what surprised you in Williamson County, Rudy?
What surprised you?
John Cornyn's winning big.
Really?
Nate Sheets is practically tied with Sid Miller.
Wow.
Mays Middleton is leading in the AG's race. Now, this is all Williamson County numbers. But remember, Williamson County, if you want a county that is a pretty good reflection of the state of Texas right now,
Wilco.
Wilco's a little purple. Just like Texas, a little purple.
A little bit, yeah.
And so as Wilco goes, maybe the state. With all the early voting numbers that have dropped, those were some real big surprises. And quite honestly, John Cornyn in Williamson County with the early vote got 52%. That takes him over the threshold, in theory, for a runoff. Now, statewide, he's running at 46. Not quite yet at that 50-plus number.
That 50-plus that he needs.
That he needs to avoid a runoff. And so right now, under these numbers right now, you've got a runoff between Paxton and Cornyn. And so the big question is, where do the Wesley Hunt voters go? Do they go to Paxton, since Hunt's big thing has been about age and youth movement, time for a change, and all the slings and arrows and all that he's launched at Cornyn, or do they just sit this one out and wait until after May if there is a runoff? But the Wilco numbers really being very, very interesting right now, and how those are shaping out, and those big surprises.
Did you expect them to extend it? Are you surprised that they're saying we're not going to do it?
After I contacted my sources there in Williamson County, and they said they had not yet received a complaint, and this was like 40 minutes before the polls were scheduled to close, I had my doubts that something could be rushed to a judge in time for a hearing to extend. So it doesn't surprise me, but that is a big, big hit for the Tallarico camp, because remember, Williamson County, James Tallarico is a Round Rock guy.
Right.
And he has really, really good, strong support based on the research that we've seen here in the Central Texas blue bubble. So you've just basically shut down the vote taking for him in his blue bubble, but you've extended that blue bubble
elsewhere
for Jasmine Crockett.
How, and I don't know the answer to this, maybe you do, but how does the judge approve that so quickly?
That's a good question. Emergency orders are fast. You got a large metropolitan area.
Because I mean, here it is signed off, and
yeah.
Katie posted this. We have this as well, so you can see it was signed today. And I don't know the time on this, but it says it'll extend it from 7 to 9 p.m. right there.
Yeah, and let's remember, I got tipped off this morning
that something was going to happen.
That something, hey, are you watching what's going on with the precinct fight in Dallas County? And so I'm sure that they had a judge on standby.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Dallas County is run by the Democrats.
Right.
That is a Democrat stronghold. It's just like Travis County. It is a blue berry within the supposed sea of red of Texas. So, they were ready.
Right.
Had a judge ready, had the complaint ready, but Wilco, they did not.
They did not.
Doesn't look like it.
No, it doesn't look like it. I just wonder what the recourse is here for Tallarico. I mean, to try and get inside his head right now and what he's thinking and how he's feeling.
They're looking at usually and basic history, and I'm not saying that I have inside information that this is what he's doing right now, but typically campaigns right now are crunching exit numbers in key districts. And they're looking at what are the turnout, what are the exit numbers, what are the early indicators, what's the early vote, there's a lot of county races in Wilco that are over just based on the early vote count, because there's no way, even though that they had, I think at last count the Republicans had just over 12,000 people voting today, Democrats about 11,000. So in some close races, that may be enough to bounce somebody into kind of like a runoff situation. But if you've got a really big, if you got 60% of that early vote, you're pretty much the race is over.
From a legality standpoint, and it's way too early, I suppose, to bring this up. But I mean, is there anything that Tallarico's team is maybe thinking at the moment if this just doesn't sit right with us?
Well, I'm sure it's not sitting right with
them.
But it's one of those things of. It's like being in a car and you just lost your brakes, and you're going downhill in a very narrow wooded area.
Right.
Sorry, I could come up with a lot of analogies here. And you just got to ride it out and see where this goes.
Well, he has said in this campaign for so long now, I'm going to be calm and I'm going to be polite and I'm not going to do the slings and arrows and all that. And he felt that Crockett was doing that. So he has just maintained, I'm not going to be negative. So we still haven't heard anything negative from him, but is this the thing that finally makes him say something?
Well, he did go negative toward the last 4 days of the campaign. Remember, he had that pivot. Early on, it was this, I'm the one, the big tent, bringing everyone together, kumbaya, and things like that. And then all of a sudden, his super PAC started launching out, some really heated stuff. And it got really ugly. And then he slowly, in the last 2 days, day and a half, he pivoted back to, it's us, we're all together. Let's eat the rich. It's the rich people's fault, and so, and then that pivot. So,
this is interesting.
Really interesting, volatile situation that's happening right now.
Yeah. Before we let you go, just on besides Crockett, we also saw Colin Allred speaking as well. So does this work in his favor?
Works totally in his favor. This buys him a little extra time because he is in a bitter race because. He is trying to get back into Congress. He left his congressional seat to run for the Senate against Ted Cruz, lost that. Things had gotten just juggled around, and so we've got the female who is in there running for re-election, and then he's trying to jump in because of that district. That's one of the districts that got kind of massaged and changed up a little bit, and then that race really got ugly fast.
It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's messy.
So it's and having excuse me, the African American vote is a very pivotal vote in that core part of Dallas. So keeping the polls open an extra 2 hours leans toward Allred helping him.
Interesting. All right. Well, breaking news here from Rudy. Williamson County deciding not to extend that deadline from 7 to 9 p.m., but Dallas County is, which could, of course, favor Jasmine Crockett. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back to Austin live from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. We've got some breaking news out of Dallas here. I want to take you to some video from one of our sister station reporters up there at KDFW Fox 4, David Centendry. And we were just talking about this in the break, Rudy, and seeing these images. It looked like this happened a couple hours ago, from my understanding, maybe about an hour ago, before the sun went down. So here is the breaking news. This is his Twitter account. David Centendry here, David S. Fox 4, breaking. Dallas police arrest a man who had firearms and ammunition outside Attorney General Ken Paxton's watch party. Wow. Officers were notified of a suspicious individual. The individual entered a vehicle that did not display a proper license plate and left the area. Officers conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. The driver was arrested for traffic violations. During an inventory search of the vehicle, officers located firearms and ammunition. Here is that video right here of this person getting arrested. It looks like here's the firearm there, Rudy. You can see the bullets there. Ammunition only, no firearms. So I'm seeing a lot of ammunition here. So they've issued a correction. So it looks like Dallas PD loading up a lot of ammunition here, Rudy.
All right, that raises a couple of questions right there. If it's just ammunition and it's just one individual, was this a meetup?
Right. Is there another person?
Is there another person who actually had the weapon? And if you can go back and let's take a look at it. You know, were those bullets or were those shotgun shells?
Looks like regular bullets, right?
Like shells.
I was gonna say more of a rifle shell there. They're packing. I mean, that's a lot of ammunition.
Yeah, that is a lot of ammunition, a lot of long rifle shells, and all that. And of course, you know, you're talking about they pulled them over because of the tag or something like that. There's your probable cause. So they've established probable cause for turning that individual over.
I'm not sure who this is. I'm not sure who this is. Here is that individual though that was arrested here. Fox 4 is working for more details. David himself recorded these videos and photos are credited to AMUS, so somebody else out there. This is outside of Attorney General Ken Paxton's watch party, from our understanding, up there in Dallas. Correction on the statement, it was only ammunition that was found. So let's watch that video one more time, Rudy.
But that still begs the question, was he meeting up with someone?
Right, is there someone else involved in this? If he's just the ammunition, does someone have a firearm?
And you know, was he? You know, there's a lot of questions unanswered questions right now, and just scary, especially what we've gone through here in Austin this past weekend, the mass shooting that we had here. This breaks your heart, and it's a gut punch no matter what. Here we go with. Election day drama again, and this is the worst kind. Even if it's just an individual who just was acting weird, and of course there's nothing illegal for having some ammunition in your car,
right?
Which is why they said that he was arrested because of the traffic violation,
right?
Which is important to say. Now the big question is that why did you have such a large number of
bullets?
And
why were you here on this day and
hovering
around, and it leads you to believe that? And we were talking earlier too, you know, we were preparing for this primary and everybody was talking about that. Obviously come Sunday, the horrific news of the mass shooting that appears to be some sort of retaliation and what happened on the airstrikes on Saturday in Iran and the killing of the Ayatollah. And I think a lot of people on high alert, but this is a very exciting day for a lot of Americans to go out and vote.
And let's go back to the Austin shooting situation. The new video that came out today, the Ring door camera video showing the Austin shooter leaving his apartment, walking out and carrying something wrapped up in a blanket, which was most likely going to be the long rifle that he had.
Here it is.
And look how casually this whole situation is that, you know, you're about an hour or so away of a horrific night, and he's just leaving his apartment as if it's just another day I'm just heading on out and going
Right.
out to the dumpster or taking this rug out or whatever that is.
Just because somebody's doing something that doesn't look nefarious or dangerous, just the fact that it can be casual. And it can still cause, just massive destruction.
And that's why, we keep on hearing law enforcement, if you see something, say something. And it could be something as just casual as that, as just, that just looks weird. And you have that thing that you're like going, well, that's just weird looking. Well, we're in this day and age where you just can't park it. If it looks weird, the worst thing is that it turns out to be nothing. And a cop had to go deviate to go check something out. I'd rather have that officer deviate a little bit and go check it out and make sure.
I was going to say, better to be safe.
Better safe than sorry.
While we're trying to wrap our heads around this, once again, if you're just joining us here on Austin Live, special 2-hour edition from 7 to 9 p.m. here on primary election night. We were talking about the latest from the polls, specifically with the GOP, and we saw Cornyn leading early on, and then we get a report here from our station up in Dallas of a masked man who was arrested outside of Ken Paxton's campaign event. And so we're trying to get more details on this. I want to switch it back, however, Rudy, as we try to transition out of this. We'll continue to follow this if we get more information, if this person gets identified, or if we find out that there may be someone else involved with a firearm. But to try and get back to the polls, however, Rudy, and just what are you seeing early on? We've got some more votes now, 14%, and Cornyn's still leading, but that has slimmed down just a couple.
It's narrowed.
Yeah.
And Paxton has made up some ground, as expected. So we're in for an interesting night. 14%, that's going to jump. That's going to change pretty quick. And so the big question are the big boxes. Mm-hmm. We know what's going to happen in the big box in Dallas. It's not going to come out until later on tonight. Houston, Travis County, San Antonio, Bexar County, and then El Paso area.
Which is about to close in an hour? Or no, less than that. 20
Wouldn't
minutes.
it be interesting if this race, the GOP Senate race, hinges on the Rio Grande Valley? That is such a volatile issue right now. The President Trump and the big swing, the mini wave of red wave happening with President Trump winning and a lot of Republicans winning down there and it going a little bit more red than expected.
Mm-hmm.
And the big question is, does it swing back to be more blue than red down there in a lot of key areas? We got a couple really hot races on the GOP side down in South Texas, down in the Edinburgh, Brownsville area that could bring in a lot of voters. The Flores versus Flores congressional
What
fight.
district is that? Let's try and grab it.
That is, gosh, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Is it 37?
37? Is that 37?
No.
No.
Now, once again, we're getting early, numbers here, and so we're going to try our best to show you guys what we have. Obviously, so much of this is early on, and as we mentioned, we still don't have numbers from Colin Allred and Julie Johnson. We don't have numbers from this side of it either, just because those polls have been extended. Yeah, this is early on from District 18.
Wow. Now, I called this earlier today, and it would be interesting because this is District 18. Al Green got redistricted out of his seat, and his seat turned from blue to red, and so it's a completely different group that's over there for that. He got pulled into Kristen Menefee. Kristen Menefee won the special election, replacing the late Sylvester Turner, who died tragically, and Christian won the special election for District 18. So this was framed as the old guard versus the new guard.
Right.
And Al Green came out early in the week saying, "I'm not that old." And as an old guy,
didn't he do push-ups?
As an old guy, I appreciate that. And he did an interview and he hopped up and started doing push-ups. He's a 70-plus-year-old junior. But a lot of people were like saying, "Well, he's out of his district. Christian represents the young blood of Harris County, and poor old Al, he might as well just start packing." And I went,
Not so fast.
And not so fast. Al Green has been there for a long, long time. He's got a great machine, a great base that gets out, And when we were doing our battleground segment with my good friend Stephen Dowling and Greg Rugen, who is in the Houston area, and we pulled up a live shot from the core part of District 18, one of the churches where a polling place was. And I told the guys, I said, guys, I see something in this live shot. And I said, we're like, what did you see? And I said, what I saw was that I saw a lot of people, poll watchers and campaign supporters that were grandma. Grandma had come out in force. And I said, I'm not quite sure who those grandmas are supporting, but I bet you dollars to donuts, those grandmas were there for Al Green. And those numbers reflect that. And that is a big number. Early voting, that's an early voting number, 62%.
I don't
on
think,
top of that.
I don't think people expected that.
I put up a red flag. I said, watch out for Al Green. Don't count Al Green out. And of course, he got some good press when
yes,
when he,
at the State of the Union.
At the State of the Union,
yes.
He and instead of being the angry old grandpa shaking his stick at the evil orange man, he had a legitimate gripe.
He did.
With the Trump campaign putting out that silly video that was King of the Jungle type stuff.
Yeah,
and it had the Obama's character as
apes.
gorillas,
Yeah.
as apes. Which, look, I don't care, what generation you are.
Yeah.
That's wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
we all know that that's wrong. We know that that's a trope. We know that that goes way, way back, against African American people.
Yeah, they tried to say, it's just a meme, and people are going, no.
Yeah. It may be a meme, and you may have been just doing, like King of the Jungle type thing,
Right.
and a cavalcade of animals. All right, fine, but you don't make the former president and the former first lady apes. That you're just asking for it. And so he was there holding up that sign.
Right.
African Americans
And
aren't
they kicked
apes.
him out.
Kicked him out.
Yeah, let's pull that up while we can, since we're here, and we put that video out, and it certainly got a lot of buzz online, just because we knew, he knows how to get the attention at that State of the Union. He did it the year before.
When we do the autopsy on this this election night, this primary, and the exit surveys start happening.
Was it.
I wonder if this moment isn't what brought him over the top. That people who showed up to vote today,
they like that he
and
did
early
that.
voters will say he stood up for me. Black people aren't apes. Amen, brother.
Yeah.
And I don't care what party you're with. That is spot on right, and regardless of decorum of the House chamber,
right.
It was a great statement, and it was the right statement.
Yeah.
And it struck a nerve, I bet, in that district.
I think you're completely right. It's a notion of, hey, I'm going to stand up for what I think is right here. I don't care if I get censured. I don't care if I get kicked out of here. I'm going to come out and say this. And he wasn't yelling and like you said, throwing the
grandpa with the cane.
He just had a sign up, and then we saw Troy Nehls, I think, appeared to try and take it from him as he's wearing a Donald Trump tie,
Right.
And so you had that going on.
Bad
But I think a
optics.
lot of people were proud of him doing that day and feeling like, hey, okay, he's listening to what all of us are saying at home.
And that moment still didn't steal the total thunder of that State of the Union, because there were so many great moments for the president and big wins for the president. But that was a big moment, and at least in his district, I think, was a critical moment. I think I'll be very interesting to see the exit survey reports that come over the next few weeks. In District 18.
Yeah, just 17% obviously early on, but as you mentioned, Rudy, I mean, that is a huge number right now for Al Green, and certainly in his favor. I want to check back in with the Republican side of things on the Senate race, just to make sure. Oh, that has gotten a little smaller now. It is starting to narrow even more. Now we've got 25% of the vote now, Rudy.
Yeah, that's bottom line. I think what we're seeing right now is that we're going to see a runoff because Hunt's numbers have only slightly increased by 1 percentage point. Granted, Paxton's number went from like 38 to 39.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with 25% in, but man, that Dallas wild card.
I know. Let's look at the Democratic side of things. Obviously, our numbers are going to be different on this because we've got
Dallas
the
is still
situation.
out, but there's 31%. But
Wow.
look,
Talarico
and
now
here's
has
my
taken
point.
over. There you
Here's
go.
my point. 47-52. Looking at it, that's 300 and how many? 96 votes?
396, 206. Jasmine Crockett with 354, 727, 31% of the votes counted. But we've got Dallas still, and so who knows?
So we're talking about 20,000 votes.
Yeah.
You keep that poll open
for another
2 hours.
Hour and 15 minutes from now.
You could get real close to making up that gap.
And I wanted to reiterate this too, and I'm sure people know this, but if you're in line, you can go vote, even if it's after 9 o'clock, from my understanding. So as long as you're getting people in line.
And the poll workers coming over and saying, right here,
Right. You'll save your spot. So
but
that's,
again, key number, that 52%.
Right.
Right now, James Tallarico is over the threshold and is free and clear. No runoff.
Let's just look at this for funsies, because I think this won't even be a thing. But let's look at the governor race. And any surprises there, Rudy?
Weren't you talking? It was Marco.
It was Marco. Well,
We need to call Marco
this.
over. Marco was saying,
Yeah.
it's going to be 90%. Where's Marco? Where's Marco?
I think you and I were talking about it yesterday. I said, I don't know. I guess it was, 80%? And you said, yeah, maybe about 80%. So that's what we're seeing here. And we knew Pete Chambers would be the only one that did anything, really.
Well, I was thinking that maybe Evelyn Brooks would be where Pete is. But Pete has tapped into that hard right evangelical base of the Republican Party. He's tapped in really strong with the folks who are upset with Governor Abbott calling him more of a globalist.
Interesting.
Along that line. And so today there was a lot on social media, a lot of chatter for Pete Chambers. It's interesting. Pete Doc Chambers is how he appears on the ballot. And you want to talk about ShamWow real quick?
I was just going to say that. We have
I'm gonna
this.
segue into that.
Let me pull up our guy here. You guys remember the ShamWow guy, right? The slap chop guy. Some of you probably know him better as his name. He's got a weird name. His name is Vince Offer Shlomi.
Is his real name? And his real name is actually Offer Vince.
Yes, I noticed
Shlomi.
that.
And then he kind of tried to Americanize it a little bit more by flip-flopping it a little bit.
Where is this guy's bit? I tried to find it earlier, and it's just a mess. I think his thing is called ShamWow guy. Here we go. The real ShamWow guy, excuse me. ShamWow Shlomi, Vince Offer. But as you mentioned, Rudy, his name is Offer Vince, originally born in Israel, oddly enough. And here is the Shlomi here. So he put this out earlier. You know what? And I think I can actually try and bring it up on one of our other tickers, but I won't do that yet. He said, quote, I am suing the GOP Texas for deleting my nickname ShamWow in the primaries so they help the incumbent John Carter so the voters don't recognize me. Rigged election by these rhinos, obviously referring to Republicans in name only, not actual rhinos.
And here's the
lawsuit.
Here's the petition. Here's the
Vince
claim.
ShamWow Shlomi
Versus Republican Party of Texas and Abraham George, who is the chairman. What is he asking? What does he want? The bottom line out of all this is that he wants to find that the Republican Party, did him wrong,
right,
by not including his known nickname on the ballot, and so he's asking for basically compensation. So he spent a lot of money on billboards going ShamWow guy, and then anything else that the court deems necessary. And that's the wild card and all that. So he could be asking for, if he wins this, which I don't think that he's going to win, but I'm not a lawyer, can't say that, he could try to get the court to order a brand new election.
Oh my goodness.
And so have a special election.
And try and get ShamWow on the ballot.
And to get ShamWow, because he claims, and let's come back to Pete, Chambers really getting the governor's race. On the ballot, it's Pete Doc, his nickname, Chambers, and it's Doc because his military background. I believe he was a medic. And so that's why it's
Doc Holliday,
Doc, and along that line, and of course the cowboy image and things like
right,
that.
I was going to say.
But more for the and then he makes mention of Kinky Freeman, You're too young for that, but I remember the big run by Kinky, and there was actually a big fight over that, including Kinky's nickname on the ballot, and one strong grandma and Carol Keaton Strayhorn and those folks, and he names those cases in his complaint, saying they had their nicknames on the ballot, and yet you're not allowing mine. Now, the Republican Party is saying, look, that's really not your nickname, that's just your moniker. Whereas Doc is a nickname. It's like my nickname is Rudy.
Right.
Well, my full name is Rudolph, but I don't go by Rudolph except when people are harassing me here in the newsroom. But I go by Rudy a lot on some legal documents too that I sign. So that's a legal use of the nickname. So
this is, I mean, he's getting crushed in this right now.
4%.
So this is, watch, I'm going to go to the beginning. So this is John Carter, 53. Oh, whoa. That's not even, see, problem is we have too many candidates. Hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah, there's like 10.
Yeah, hold on. Here we go. Nope, that's not what I want. You know, I'm not an engineer, Rudy, but I'm going to get this. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Right, my goodness. So Congressional District 31. John Carter with 53% early on. Valentina Gomez, a whopping 9% at 352 votes. This is very early on, obviously. Only 4% of the vote. But the Sham Wow guy only getting 4%. I can't. Should I even say that? Am I even allowed to say Sham Wow guy? Vince Offer?
I guess you can.
Okay.
I guess you can.
John Carter deciding no cowboy hat though in his photo there. Interestingly.
You know, it's very interesting because kudos to John Carter. He came out with a ad blitz late, and
which I have seen that ad. Yes.
And a lot of analysts who I've spoken to, and me included, wondered if the age gap was going to come into play with so many challengers, and would that erode his base where he would not be able to get that magic 50 plus to avoid a runoff as of right now. Now, granted, 4%, but he's got a big number there right out of the gate, and so there were some thoughts and some folks that were like talking to me saying, should John Carter be worried that he won't even make the runoffs with so many individuals that are in play? Because there are some very good
I'll run to the next. Yeah, there's a next slew of people here. Raymond Hamden, Steve Dowell, Vince Offer, David Berry.
And Steve Dowell was one of the guys that was like, people are like going, well, maybe he could be that number 2 guy out of the gate, and a lot of people were disregarding Valentina and Gomez.
She has said quite the things today on her Twitter page. She was saying earlier that they were cheating against her, and that John Carter, they were cheating for John Carter, just as Vince Offer is saying they're cheating for John Carter. So it's gotten pretty nasty on social media.
A lot of bad blood over there.
Yeah, a lot of bad blood, and John Carter, 84 years young, I guess you could say, Rudy.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, and you wonder, is this the last hurrah for Congressman Carter? I mean, he has been such a notable figure in Williamson County from his days in law enforcement, being a judge. Of course, a lot of people refer to him as Judge Carter still, not Congressman Carter, but know him as a Williamson County judge. So, he's a guy that has really brought home the bacon for Williamson County and also Bell County, because he represents a large section of not Camp Hood, but Fort Hood.
Fort Hood.
And I'm thinking Camp Mabry. That too. No, but Fort Hood. And he's brought home a lot of money for Killeen and Coppers Cove and Belton and that area. And there's a lot of people that really like him over there because of that.
Let's look at, right before we go to break here, Rudy, I do want to look at the governor's race on the Democratic side of things. So we'll bring that up just to react to it. We expected this, obviously. Gina Hinojosa leaving District 49 here in the Texas House, going to run for governor on the Democratic side. We've got 30% of the votes counted in there with a massive lead for Hinojosa there.
Yeah, and keeping at that pace, she's going to avoid a runoff. I had a chance to talk to Gina and Chris and Bobby Cole. And all three of those individuals didn't get a chance to talk to Patricia, but Bobby Cole had an interesting pitch when I sat down with him, and his argument was, vote for me because I've got the plan to beat Greg Abbott. And I asked him, well, what's that plan? And he goes, I can talk West Texas. I can talk rural Texas. He's a farmer, he's a rancher from East Texas, and he believes that he can talk to the moderates that are out there in the rural parts of Texas, which is a strong part of the base for Greg Abbott. And he believes that along with the Democrat base, that if he can get the swing votes, the moderates and the independents and some of the crossover Republican moderates in rural Texas, he could actually be a more formidable challenger to Greg Abbott
compared to Gina.
than Gina Hinojosa. Hinojosa is a well-known state representative here in the Austin area. We know that she is a strong public education advocate. She fought against the school choice legislation, but she's also was part of a lot of the other things that have hurt the Democrats, the gender identity stuff. She's against voter ID, has spoken out against that. And a lot of the election changes. She was part of the big walkouts that happened.
Right.
And so
I was going to say she was really one of the ones spearheading that. And I had just started here, and here we had these walkouts at the state capitol right behind us here. So we've got some early numbers. Once again, a special edition here. Typically, we only join you from 6:30 to 7:30, but it's your guys' lucky day. We're here from 7 to 9 on this special primary election night. Of course, in about an hour from now, I'll get to hang out with Rudy even more. Well, I'll have a little bit of a break, and I think maybe you get thrown right into the fire
right, I'm going
right away. But we're going to give you a break.
I'll be with Mike at 9 o'clock on broadcasting.
Yeah, we're going to give you a break, and then we're going to check in with some of our other reporters. We're going to check in with Katie Pratt, Angela Shen, and Jenna King, who are all at races. And we'll hear from Katie Pratt, who is actually outside the Jasmine Crockett watch party right now. I can watch her out of the corner of my eye. Very interesting what's going on in Dallas County. Once again, you're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We will be back after a 2-minute break. Hey guys, welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. You can join us for the next hour. This is a special edition, a special 2-hour edition on this primary election night. We've had some early drama, of course, talking to our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, about the situation with the Democratic side of things with the senator race. Of course, we've seen Cornyn, Paxton, and Hunt in a tight three-way race, really just between Cornyn and Paxton. Cornyn with an early lead for the Republicans. On the Democratic side of things, James Tallarico with an early lead, but we learned that there were some changes in the voting precincts, some people being turned away at specific polls. And so essentially what ended up happening was a judge allows for an extension to happen in Dallas County, which was granted. So those polls are going to be open. Those voting polls are going to be open for another hour in Dallas County. Now, they did offer the same thing for Williamson County, since that is James Tallarico's backyard, but Williamson County electing not to move forward with that. So those polls are closed, those votes are being counted, but out there in Dallas County, things are still open for the next hour, and if people are in line, they will still be able to vote, even if it goes past 9 o'clock. Our reporter, Katie Pratt, is actually at Jasmine Crockett's watch party as we speak. I'm going to work on getting her up and running on this as best we can, but you can follow us on all our social media, Fox 7 Austin, our website, fox7austin.com. I just want to check in really quick with our ticker here, which will give you the latest numbers on that. So let's pull this in now. So this is the Republican side of things for the U.S. Senate race. John Cornyn with that early lead, 44% to Ken Paxton's 39%, Wesley Hunt trailing at 13%. We've only got about 33% of that vote coming in right now. But as Rudy Koski mentioned a couple minutes ago, so far things looking good for John Cornyn as he has that lead, about 35,000 more votes as we speak. But those numbers are still going to be rolling in. Wesley Hunt has made up some ground here or there. We've seen that number go up to 14%, but he's pretty much stayed in that range. But if none of them are able to get that majority, we will see a runoff, which is, of course, what we expected this entire time. On the Democratic side of things, James Tallarico still leading at 52%, Jasmine Crockett at 47%, but Dallas County still open. People are still going to be voting for the next hour. We've got 36% of those votes counted. Meanwhile, in Williamson County, where they pretty much offered the same situation for Tallarico in his own backyard, they elect not to do that. And as Rudy mentioned, very interesting. Is this something that Tallarico's team can respond to? And as Rudy mentioned, and I think it's a really good point to make, he's sort of stuck. If you come out and say something negative, you look as though you're upset by this. You look as though you're throwing a fit. So I think he's just trying to get down to the end of the race as best he can. As Rudy jokingly said, it's like the end of the Ricky Bobby movie where they're racing to the end there. They're not even in their cars. They're just trying to get to the finish line. I think that's certainly the situation we're dealing with there. I did want to mention something else, and our producers made me aware of this. This happened about an hour and a half ago. This is from David Centendry, who is a reporter for Fox 4 up in Dallas, and some scary images coming outside the Attorney General's watch party here, Ken Paxton. And according to David Centendry, he says, quote, officers were notified of a suspicious individual. The individual entered a vehicle that did not display a proper license plate and left the area. Officers conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. The driver was arrested for traffic violations. During an inventory search, the officers located, it says firearms and ammunition, but there was a correction made. It is not, there's no firearms, just ammunition. I'll show you that video right here. You can see the police putting that ammunition inside of an evidence bag. As we can see here, I don't know what we're looking at here in terms of, Rudy asked, is that a shotgun shell? No, it looks as though that could be a long rifle shell there, but we don't know exactly. And they're loading all of that up, quite a lot of ammunition. And it made us wonder, okay, if you have this individual with the ammunition, is there someone else that may have a weapon? This is all just speculation, but just makes you wonder and makes you ask some questions there, of course, as we try to understand exactly what happened here. Here are some of the photos. Here's that person that was arrested. And I want to point out the man wearing all black here, sort of like a turtleneck, an athletic turtleneck, if you will, and also a masked individual. So certainly raises eyebrows, certainly raises a lot of question. What was this person doing there? Why were they at this watch party? Did they mean to do harm? We'll, of course, keep you guys updated if anything changes on that front. We're also going to check in with our reporter, Katie Pratt, who is at Jasmine Crockett's watch party. And then we're also going to check in with Jenna King, who is at James Tallarico's watch party. And then we'll also check in with Angela Shen, who, if I'm correct, is at Gina Hinojosa's watch party. We will be checking in with Marco Bittenell. He'll be in our 9 and 10 o'clock shows. But Marco is busy monitoring the situation with Governor Greg Abbott, who is, just dominating on that side of things. So we're going to take another quick break. We'll try and get all our ducks in a row here. Once again, you're watching special coverage on this primary election night here on the Fox Local app, Austin Live. If you want to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, go to our website. You can also follow me as well, Alec on Fox 7, for all the latest updates. I will consider us going TikTok Live. We'll see. I know the older crowd doesn't really care for that, but the younger crowd appears to do that as well. Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. You're watching Austin Live. Welcome back into Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Special edition on this primary election night. I did want to give you guys a quick update on the Republican side for the governor's race. The Associated Press calling that for Governor Greg Abbott. We knew, of course, that would be the situation with him having nearly 82%, 83% of the vote. So we'll check in once more just on what that looks like. And then once we look at this, we're going to toss it to one of our reporters, Katie Pratt, who is out at Jasmine Crockett's watch party. So here's the number real quick, if it would just pull up correctly here, for Governor Greg Abbott, a commanding lead, I should say, 82% of that vote with 35% of the votes in, but the Associated Press has already called this. Okay, let's check in with our very own Katie Pratt, who is at this watch party. I can hear the music right now coming from that watch party, certainly very loud out there, Katie. So I know you've been out there in Dallas. What have you seen? What have you heard in the last couple hours?
Hey, Alec. Yeah, I'd say the mood is pretty optimistic. It's still early in the night, especially since the polls remain open. A Dallas County judge is extending the voting hours until 9 o'clock tonight after some Texans were turning away from the polls. The reported issue apparently came in for counties where they have to vote in specific locations based on their parties. So Dallas, Williamson counties are really experiencing these issues. It was so bad here, actually, that the Dallas County lots lots of issues going on. And like you said, we are at U.S. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's watch party. She was actually one of the first people to issue a statement on it and address it. She spoke earlier this evening alongside Colin Allred. If you want to go ahead and play that sound for them, Alex.
Katie, I know you've been out there, and I saw on your Twitter that you put out that statement, or I should say what was signed by the judge to get that polls extended. It's kind of hard to hear you because of the music. What is the sentiment there at the watch party? Does it appear as though they're very satisfied that this poll has been extended for about another hour?
Yeah, it's still early in the night, so the polls are still open. But yeah, we have not heard from Jasmine Crockett yet, likely because of all of this that's been going on tonight.
We also heard, I think, should we play the soundbite? I didn't hear you, but do you want me to play the soundbite from Jasmine Crockett?
If you could play
Yeah,
the
let's play
soundbite,
this here.
please.
So if you guys want to listen in, I know it's very loud there with Katie and the music, but we're going to hear in from candidate Crockett right here.
Listen, this may be a very close election, and it may hinge on who was allowed to vote or who wasn't allowed to vote in Dallas County. But I'm here to say, regardless as to whether or not it's close or not, this is wrong. If one person has the right to vote and they weren't allowed to cast their vote, we should all be standing together. Democrats, Republicans, and we should all be raising hell. But unfortunately, this was always the plan. And so I am grateful for this court order. And as Congressman Allred has...
So as you can hear on that soundbite there, I don't think you can hear it there, Katie, but just Jasmine Crockett saying basically we need every vote counted as much as possible. And so her campaign certainly happy about this. We did learn that James Tallarico's backyard here in Williamson County deciding not to extend until 9 o'clock, so it would appear that this is going to work in Crockett's favor.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I was saying based on what we've learned with them extending that deadline, it would appear that this would favor Jasmine Crockett.
It depends because this is specifically in Dallas County, so it depends on where Dallas County voters lie their loyalties with. They were saying that it would be specifically for Democratic voters and those election offices because they were the ones reporting the issue. However, if you look at the order, it doesn't specify Republicans or Democrats. It just says that they are extended here in Dallas County.
Awesome. Well, Katie, very difficult to hear you, but we appreciate the time. I know we'll hear more from you coming up at 9 and 10 o'clock. We appreciate it. Stay safe out there, and we'll check in. You guys can follow her, Katie, on Fox 7 on Twitter for those latest updates. Thanks, Katie. Well, very difficult to hear. I got to be completely honest with you guys. I didn't hear much of what she said because of the music in the background there. We knew that might have been a problem there. That is the situation when you're calling in on these nights like that. So I hope all of you out there were able to hear her a little better. I'm hearing her from a different source we got over here. So just that music sort of drowning out everything there. But as you saw there, I will play that soundbite again from Jasmine Crockett if I can just switch this over, and we'll listen in and react to it because I wasn't able to hear it before. But Katie sending us that earlier. And so let's listen in once again just so we can react to that. If this would just work, but it doesn't want to work. Here we go. All right.
Listen, this may be a very close election, and it may hinge on who was allowed to vote or who wasn't allowed to vote in Dallas County. But I'm here to say, regardless as to whether or not it's close or not, this is wrong. If one person has the right to vote and they weren't allowed to cast their vote, we should all be standing together. Democrats, Republicans, and we should all be raising hell. But unfortunately, this was always the plan. And so I am grateful for this court order. And as Congressman Allred has already stated,
all right, so that was candidate Jasmine Crockett there, who is in the Senate race for the Democratic side of things. Obviously a very drama-filled night, if you will, because of the situation out there in Dallas County with those polls being extended until 9 o'clock. We know that could have happened here in Williamson County, but they decided not to go forward with that. And obviously, we'll keep an eye on all of the polls as we continue to get numbers in. We've got a ticker here running, and so I'm doing my best to try and make sure you guys have the latest results. So let's check in on the GOP side of things. Cornyn still with that early lead, 44% compared to Ken Paxton's 39%. Wesley Hunt trailing in third at just 13% there. We've got 38% of the estimated votes counted. So Cornyn probably feeling pretty good early on here, but it looks as though this could be headed to a runoff, which is what we've been talking about for months. On the Democratic side of things, Tallarico still with that early lead, 52% compared to Jasmine Crockett with 46%. But as we continue to mention here, as Katie mentioned right there, those polls are still going to be open until 9 o'clock. Even if people are in line and it's after 9 o'clock, they'll still be able to vote as well. 37% of the votes in there. And as I mentioned at the top of our segment here, this thing just keeps going to the wrong thing. Here we go. On the governor's race, we knew this was happening. This was the biggest slam dunks of all slam dunks on the GOP side. Governor Greg Abbott with a commanding 83% of the vote. They have already called this race. Nobody even close. I mean, just blowing everybody out of the water. Our reporter Marco Bittnell is on this at the watch party. Of course, he has been speaking with our Houston station as well to provide updates. We'll have more from him coming up later in 9 and 10 o'clock. Once again, this is a special edition of Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. You can follow us on all our social media at Fox 7 Austin, as well as our website, fox7austin.com. We'll continue to have updates. We'll continue to look at what's going on here. I did want to check in on some things that are going around the State House. These are races that I was looking at while we were here doing our Fox 7 focuses. So let's check in and see how things are shaping up for District 47. There's nothing coming in early here yet from the Texas Democratic primary. Let's check in on 50. Maybe we get something here. Nothing yet. This is quite a large race. We've got multiple people here. We'll try to run through this also. Nothing from either of those. Let's check in on 49. Talk about a loaded race. 49 had the most people. And we tried to get them all in, and we appreciate everyone that came in to speak with us. Really great to learn about those candidates and their platform and what they were trying to get across. But we don't have any numbers from that early on. I did want to go back to Congressional District 18 because Rudy was quite excited about this one. And wow! Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is a total 180 from what we were talking about 20 minutes ago. Al Green had that commanding lead early on, and now Christian Menefee, as Rudy mentioned, sort of the old guard versus the new guard, Christian Menefee has taken the lead at 49%, with 68% of those estimated votes counted. Al Green, of course, gaining a lot of headlines last week during the State of the Union, holding up the sign saying black people aren't apes, obviously in reference to that President Donald Trump Truth Social post depicting the Obamas, former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama, depicting them as apes. Horrific images there, certainly racist images there. And Al Green holding up a sign saying black people aren't apes, saying, you know, I am an old man, but I'm still fit, doing push-ups even in some media availability. But that number has flip-flopped now because we saw Al Green with an early lead, and now Christian Menefee has taken over at 49%. We're going to take another quick break as we continue to monitor the situations here. I certainly want to hear from what Rudy has to say on this. We're going to check in with Jenna King on James Tallarico's side of things. She's at that watch party. I can see her right now. It looks as though they're watching updates behind her. So we'll try and get that live shot up. And then we'll check in lastly with our other reporter, Angela Shen, as well. We've got our team coverage on this. We've got eyeballs everywhere. We're trying to monitor everything we can. People working hard here in the newsroom to give you guys the latest updates. Of course, you can follow us on our social media pages, Fox 7 Austin. And I urge you to go to our website, too, for latest updates. Our web team working really hard as well to make sure you guys have the latest information possible. Once again, you're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Welcome back to Austin Live, a special edition on this night, coming at you for 2 hours. I want to quickly throw it over to Governor Greg Abbott before we get to our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, as he is celebrating the race that has been called here for him on the GOP side. We'll listen in to Governor Greg Abbott. There he is.
And yes, we did sign a law clarifying what everybody should know, and that is no boys and girls sports in our schools in the state of Texas. This is just common sense. It's not complicated. It's far more common sense and less complicated than my microphone is tonight. I'll tell you that much. But let me put this in context of what happened just yesterday. What happened yesterday is I received a national award where we won the national championship in America for the Governor's Cup as the #1 state for creating new jobs. Y'all, this is a generation. Some of you may be looking for a good job. I'll tell you this fact. There's no state in America that has more job opportunity than the great state of Texas. We ranked #1 for the most new jobs in the past year, #1 for the most new jobs since COVID, #1 for the most new jobs in America since I have been your governor, and we will continue to be the job opportunity state in the United States of America. But that brings us to the point that we're at now, where we are at now between now and November. Listen, this is going to be a battle between common sense versus chaos, where the Democrats seek to dismantle all the gains that we've been able to achieve. Look at what they want to do. They believe in defunding our police. They believe in Joe Biden's open border policies. They want to go back and undermine what we did, and they want to go back and indoctrinate our kids in our schools with DEI, and we are not going to let that happen. Listen, they were talking about affordability. Listen, the last thing that we need in our lives is higher taxes. And yet, that's what all of these Democrats, from the top of the ballot all the way to the bottom of the ballot, they've actually voted to increase your taxes. They voted against our property tax cut. They actually voted for a state income tax, and they voted to tax your retirement savings. That is wrong, and we're not going to let that happen because we are going to keep Texas, Texas. Listen, there's a whole lot at stake in this whole campaign. All of those issues I talked about, but something maybe even more important, and that is your values, about who you are. There's one thing that unites everybody in this room, one thing that unites almost everybody in this state, and that is we believe in God over government. We know that in Texas, freedom is worth fighting for, and we know something else. We know that it actually means something to be a Texan, and we are going to stand for what Texas stands for, and we are going to fight and unite, and we're going to win this election with your help, working every single day. We will keep Texas, Texas. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.
So you're listening to Governor Greg Abbott live there, being declared the winner, a dominating win there on the GOP side of things for the governor's race. We expected that, Rudy. We expected that, but a very happy Governor Greg Abbott. Much of that speech right there talking about the success of the economy, and that seems to be really what he hangs his hat on.
Yeah, he's been hanging his hat on that a whole lot, and a lot of his road trips around the state. At least that's the one thing that went to script today, right?
Everything else has blown up. So we talked early on about those polls being extended in Dallas County, but you have some more breaking news.
Yeah, and this is the whole reason why I've jumped back in and parachuted back in. Just leave it to Wacky Wilco. Mm-hmm. They dropped and released the early voting numbers right after 7 o'clock. And then those numbers disappeared, just disappeared. So I reached out to my folks in Williamson County and I asked them, so what's going on? And I was told that Judge Lambeth there in Williamson County ordered the early voting numbers not to be released until 10 o'clock. And so I asked, well, does that mean that, the voting hours were extended? And the response that I got was, don't know.
So they may have been extended.
May have been extended. or there may have been a lot of people in line, and the judge decided, well, okay, we can't, since there's so many people still in line, we don't want to, tank the election results by, all that coming loose. So just a little wackiness in Williamson County.
Totally wacky.
So why not have more drama on election day, right?
What would the benefit be for them releasing it and then taking it back, trying to hide, what could be a loss or a win?
No, I think it could be something as simple as
we want to release
a staffer doing what was typically is done. Early voting numbers immediately being released right at 7 when polls close, and it might have been a quick finger by a staffer, and then a judge basically coming back and saying, well, let's not release anything early voting until 10 o'clock.
Right, because Dallas County having theirs extended.
Well, I don't know if the Dallas County situation was in play and factored in the Williamson County decision by Judge Lambeth, or if it was just a matter of, did the hours get extended and that message just hasn't gotten out
Interesting.
yet? Or did the judge basically decide, all right, there's a lot of people in line, and I don't want to skew folks, because that could...
That's what I was going to say. When those numbers come out, it triggers, it's over, or they've got it.
And people standing in line, they do have their phones.
So they may say, I'm out of here.
They may be watching this stuff. Whereas you can't have your phone when you go into the polling place.
Right.
But if you're in a long line, you could be seen. You're like, oh gosh, my favorite candidate is just not or the numbers drop and things get extended to 9 o'clock, and I'm making a phone call to my favorite candidate who's in third place right now.
Right.
Because of the early vote. Quick, get the church. Fire up the church bus.
Here's what we have early on still. 44% of the estimated votes counted. James Tallarico still with a pretty good lead there, 53% with 566,000 votes. Jasmine Crockett at 46%. But as we know, Rudy, that Dallas County situation will be the big swing, I imagine.
What kind of big drop is going to happen there tonight?
I know. You would imagine that would push her over the edge.
And we're 30 minutes away from that happening, from the polls supposedly being closed finally in Dallas County. But as we all know, if you're in line, you can still vote.
You can still vote, so this could go on much longer. And we anticipated it being a long night. We expect it to continue to be that way and be an even longer night than we first thought of. I can see out of the corner of my eye here, Jenna King is actually at James Tallarico's watch party right now. So we'll try and check in with her when we go to break here, and then when we come back, we'll try and talk with Jenna and see if Tallarico's team has anything to say. Of course, you can follow us on all our social media, Fox 7 Austin, for all the latest updates. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Hey guys, welcome back into Austin Live. I was standing up there because I was just talking to our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, who had another breaking news update in regard to the race between Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett for the Democratic primary. This has been a night filled with drama on both sides from them. We haven't heard much from Tallarico's campaign, but we have heard from Jasmine Crockett complaining about precincts changing location, turning voters away. They have to go somewhere else. So then a judge orders that those polls are extended until 9 p.m. when they should have closed at 7. And then Rudy just came in here and told me that 2 locations in Williamson County and the Georgetown area were extended. Only 2 out of all of Williamson County, only 2 were extended. And Rudy's been doing this a long time, and he says, I've never seen this before. Never seen this before. So certainly a very strange night.
We have a statement on the digital channel.
We have a statement here. Our reporter Jenna King is standing by from Tallarico's campaign, but I just want to read this really quickly before we get to Jenna. Here we have a release from Williamson County. 2 Williamson County polling locations have been court-ordered to remain open until 10 p.m. tonight. North Star Georgetown, a Democratic primary polling location, and Georgetown Annex for both Democratic and Republican primaries. All votes cast after 7 p.m. are provisional ballots according to election code. Because provisional ballots take additional time to process, none of the votes cast during extended polling hours will be processed tonight. They will be reported with other provisional voters on Monday. My goodness. So as Rudy just mentioned, we haven't seen something like this before. He hasn't seen something like this before. Okay, we checked in with Katie Pratt up in Dallas with Jasmine Crockett's campaign. Let's check in with Jenna King, who is live a little closer in East Austin right now. And I know it's a little bit loud there, Jenna, but what is the update, and have they talked about this at all with these polling locations extending, their openings?
Yeah, hey Alec, we are here at Emos in East Austin, which is fitting since this is where James Tallarico grew up, with his single mother. No word yet. We have not seen anyone. There's a podium behind me. We haven't seen anyone speak. We have not gotten any updates. I'm going to step out of the way so you can kind of just get a better picture of what we're looking at. We have some fans. Many people are holding signs, reading "Love Thy Neighbor" with Texas flags. You can see they are showing some numbers up
Looks
there.
Looks like Tallarico and tequila there. Interesting. Okay.
Every time you see them cheering for Tallarico right now, as he looks like he's slightly up at this moment, and so a lot of engagement with the crowd, as you can tell. Let's talk a little bit of background, for maybe the people who are just joining us, Alec. State Rep Tallarico announced his run for U.S. Senate back in September. As we've been talking about all night, he is seeking that Democratic nomination alongside Jasmine Crockett of Dallas and businessman Aman Hassad. Tallarico's got a pretty interesting backstory. He's an 8th-generation Texan, former middle school teacher, and a Presbyterian seminarian. He's in school right now, taking a sabbatical. He was first elected to the Texas House in 2018, where he won District 52. After redistricting, he was elected to represent District 50, which of course includes part of the Austin area, many of which of those people are here right now. In the legislature, he has filed backed bills related to public school funding, job training programs, the cost of childcare, housing, and prescription drugs. And he has spent the last few months campaigning all throughout Texas. And we caught up with some of the supporters here.
Yeah, I'm going to play that. We'll listen
Alex,
in. I saw you talk to a couple people here, so we'll listen into this.
You two out tonight.
We have been supporting James since he was running for our House rep in Round Rock.
Well, I can't hear anything, so I don't know if that's just me.
We have been supporting James since he was...
No, you can hear it. It's just because I'm on the phone with you, Jenna.
We have been supporting James since he was running for our House rep in Round Rock. We fell in love with his passion, his intelligence, and so we're really excited to see him move up to a state level, and we're supporting him 100%.
So it sounds like, it sounds like there, Jenna, we're bringing you back up live here. It sounds like there, one of the people you talked to just liked his passion, if I'm getting that correctly.
Yeah, he said that these two gentlemen have been following him, since 2018. They're from Round Rock. Obviously, that was his district, and so, they said they like what he stands for. They like his character. They like his passion. But another interesting thing that they brought up is they also love Jasmine Crockett.
Wow.
So they said it's
being
really,
supportive of both.
They said it. And another interesting fact is when our Rudy Koski talked with Tallarico, of course he said he's excited and feels confident, but Tallarico said if he doesn't win, he's going to support Jasmine Crockett all the way. So really just an interesting race, because you've got both these candidates that a lot of people are clearly struggling going back and forth with a lot of great options.
I don't know if you've gotten wind of if he's going to talk or not. We do have some early results here showing that he is leading at 53% compared to Jasmine Crockett's 46%. But we know now that the polls have been extended in Dallas County and a couple polling places have been extended in Williamson County. We may not get results for quite some time, even Monday it looks like. Do we expect him to talk?
No, the people I've talked with are assuming that he will speak either way, but we have not gotten any official confirmation on when or if we have a timeline for when that could happen. But we're going to be here. If he does speak, we're going to wave you guys down and we will let you know. You'll be the first to hear. But it is crowded. It is a very fun, packed environment with a lot of people, anxiously awaiting these results.
Awesome. Well, Jenna King, thank you very much. She is there at James Tallarico's watch party in East Austin. Save the voice. We've got still a long way to go here and what's going to be a long night. Thank you, Jenna.
Thanks, Alex.
So that was Jenna King there from James Tallarico's watch party. Let me hang up with her. Hold on. And as we mentioned, this was a pretty quiet night. About 2 hours before we were about to go live, we were getting some word that things were going on and people were being turned away from certain precincts there. And then Dallas County, by order of a judge, able to extend their voting until 9 p.m. So they're about to close in about 20 minutes from now. But if they are in line, and if it's a long line, they'll still be able to vote. And then we also got a notification that Williamson County was going to be doing something similar, but only for 2 polling locations. So I just want to reiterate, there are 2 Williamson County polling locations that have been court ordered to remain open until 10 o'clock tonight. North Star Georgetown, a Democratic primary polling location, and Georgetown Annex for both the Democratic and Republican primaries. All votes cast after 7 p.m. are provisional ballots according to election code. Because provisional ballots take additional time to process, none of the votes cast during extended polling hours will be processed tonight. It's going to be a long night. They will be reported with other provisional voters on the Monday following the elections. My goodness, we've got quite the interesting situation here. Our chief political reporter, Rudy Koski, telling me, hey, he's done this for a lot of years now. He's got experience. This isn't his first rodeo, saying, I cannot recall seeing anything quite like this before. We'll continue to keep you guys updated as best we can. Once again, a special edition of Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app from 7 to 9 o'clock. We got about 15 minutes left in the show. I'm going to take another quick break. We might check in with another one of our reporters, but depending on the information that we're getting in, and if any other races get called, I do want to go to that as well. And of course, you can join us on our normal show at 9 o'clock as well coming up. We'll have all of this information from our nice big studio, not our little boxer. You're watching Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Welcome back to Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. Special edition, 2-hour special here on the primary election night. We have talked about so much in the last hour and 48 minutes. I want to toss it to our reporter Angela Shen, who is at Gina Hinojosa's watch party down in San Antonio. So we're going to bring her up live right now. Angela, Give us the latest.
Yeah, so they just brought up some state lawmakers to the stage. Gina Hinojosa isn't here yet. Her campaign staff tells me she was going to be here earlier, but because of what's happening in Dallas County, she might be coming later than expected because those polls are staying open for 2 extra hours up there in Dallas County because of the confusion about where people could vote. We also saw that confusion in Williamson County. Now, Hinojosa was in Austin this morning visiting polling locations, and Travis County voters can vote at any location, so there wasn't that confusion in Travis County. And she also had an election eve rally in Austin last night. Now, Hinojosa is originally from the Valley and was on the AISD school board before winning the election for Texas House in 2016. Her campaign for governor is called No Te Dejes, the Fight Back Tour. This morning she reiterated to us that she's fighting for working class families and that people are tired of the current leadership. Some of her priorities include education. She's against Governor Greg Abbott's school vouchers, which she says drains billions of dollars from taxpayer money from schools. She wants to invest in teacher pay and school safety. She also wants to make Texas more affordable and for people to have more accessible health care. I spoke to some of her supporters earlier.
Angela, thank you. I can barely hear you there, and that's kind of the case with all of our reporters being at these loud watch parties. We appreciate it. Stay safe out there. We'll check back in with you in the later shows. Thanks, Angela. I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't hear anything she said there, but I hope you guys were able to hear what she had to say. That is Angela Shen down there in San Antonio at Gina Hinojosa's watch party, certainly the leader there in the Democratic side of things for the governor's race. We heard about 20 minutes ago from Governor Greg Abbott, the incumbent, of course, with just a dominating victory there on the GOP side of things, and much of what he said in that victory speech was praising his economic record. He also mentioned that he was getting men out of women's sports. He also was saying that Biden's border policies were not working, and so he's putting Texans first and putting the economy first as well. Okay, let's check in back with some other races here. Once again, we'll show you just how dominant Governor Greg Abbott was in that Republican side of things. Let me pull this up. So there's Governor Greg Abbott. I mean, just dominating. 83% there. That's sort of what we expected to happen. Our reporter Marco Bittnell out there covering that race. We knew this one would be a slam dunk. Angela Shen was also just reporting to us about Gina Hinojosa, also very dominating race for her. 62% of the vote there, with 45% of the votes counted in. But as Rudy Koski mentioned, he thought Bobby Cole had quite an interesting message and thought maybe he would be able to garner some more votes there, but only 5% of the vote there. Let's check in with some other districts here. The really interesting one to watch is this one right here, Congressional District 18, because early on we showed Al Green with quite the lead, and Rudy was saying, hey, that's a big win there for Al Green, sort of the old guard versus the new guard there, and Christian Menifee flipped this, and now he's got 49% of that vote, with 68% of those estimated votes counted. I also want to look at Hays County Judge Democratic primary here. This one much closer than we thought. If we just pull this up, this thing is so finicky. Here we go. So here is Ruben Becerra, 51% of the vote there. I don't have a percentage exactly, but that one a lot closer than we had anticipated against Michelle Gutierrez-Cohen and Joel Martin, or Martine, if you will. And so Ruben Becerra there with 51% of the vote. Let's look at the Bexar County Judge as well. If we have these numbers, Ron Nirenberg, 62% of the vote compared to 38% from Peter Sakai. Ron Nirenberg there, 62% of the vote. I don't have the estimated totals on those coming in. Let's look at Congressional District 33 here, if we have updated numbers on this. Nothing coming down from Colin Allred or Julie Johnson because those polls were extended until 9 o'clock. That is why Colin Allred talking as well. I wanted to check out the State House situations here. Last time we checked, we didn't have anything, so nothing in 47. We've got nothing in 50. The other side of 50 here, nothing there. Let's check in on 49, which is a massive race with so many candidates. Nothing coming down there. Nothing on the back end. Okay. we're going to take one final break, and when we come back, we will try and wrap up things here on this special edition of Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. I'm so excited I'm standing up at this point. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Austin Live right here on the Fox Local app. We've only got a couple of minutes left with you guys on this special edition on primary election night here from the Fox 7 Austin newsroom. We have had a lot to talk about, specifically with the Senate race, specifically with the Democrats, of course, and dealing with the polls being extended until 9 o'clock in Dallas County. Williamson County, we found out that only 2 of those polling locations would be extended. I do want to show you really quick. We don't have much time here, but here are the early numbers. 46% of that vote coming in. James Tallarico leading 53% to 46%. And so it's very early on, but we do know that Jasmine Crockett, most likely, with Dallas being her backyard, when those votes come down, we don't know when they will because this night is just going to keep going on, of course. That could definitely swing in her direction. Katie Pratt, our reporter, is at her watch party. Our other reporter, Jenna King, is at James Tallarico's party here in East Austin. Our other reporter, Marco Bittnell, on Governor Greg Abbott with just a commanding lead in all of that and being declared the winner there for the GOP side of things. And then Angela Shen down in San Antonio with Gina Hinojosa, who's also having a very commanding win tonight as well from what it looks like. And so we've got a lot of races to cover. We're going to be looking at the State House, of course. We'll be looking at the Senate race, the governor's race, other districts around Texas as well. You can follow us on all our social media at Fox 7 Austin. You can also follow us for live updates on our website, fox7austin.com. I'm going to get out of here for now. I will be back in about 30 minutes. Join us over on our normal broadcast at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. We'll be going until 11. Our people working very hard here